Hey guys, this is Joffrey and I'm just gonna analyze this scene. If you guys didn't know, this scene between Joffrey and Tywin, it's a pretty good scene, right? It has also been analyzed by Savage Books, and he did a really good analysis, but I noticed that he did it from the point of Tywin, right? And I don't think enough people actually give Joffrey enough credit for this scene, because in this scene, Joffrey actually displayed some, maybe not wisdom, but cunning when dealing with his grandfather. And you can actually see that in Tywin's reactions as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through this scene similar to how Savage Books did, because based on what I've seen, most people seem to give this conversation to Tywin. Now, make no mistake, I do believe he won the conversation, right? But I believe he was actually surprised by how his grandson, who he probably doesn't expect much out of, responded during this conversation. Joffrey actually displays somewhat cunning and knowledge of the topics at hand. It's almost like he actually prepared for this conversation with his grandfather, but Tywin didn't. I should explain that later, but for now, let's get into it.
Your Grace,
Grandfather?
you wanted to speak to me.
Yes. I'd like a report on the meetings of my small council.
You're welcome to attend the meetings of your small council, Your Grace. Any or all of them.
I've been very busy. Many important matters require a king's attention.
Of course.
You've been holding the council meetings in the Tower of the Hand instead of the small council chamber.
I have, yes.
May I ask why?
Well, the Tower of the Hand is where I work. To walk from there to here would take time. Time I could otherwise spend productively.
So if I wanted to attend a council meeting, I would now have to climb all the stairs in the Tower of the Hand?
All right, I want to stop it there first, because here's where you notice first that Joffrey seems to have prepared for this, because Tywin talks about how it would be a waste of time for him to come to the council chamber, but Joffrey quickly and rightly retorts with, basically, you're saying that, wait, so I would have to walk instead of you. He's quickly able to throw his grandfather's own logic right back at him. But of course, this is Tywin Lannister, and he's still able to regain his composure and give an answer.
We could arrange to have you carried.
Tell me about the Targaryen girl in the east and her dragons.
Where did you hear about this?
Is it true?
I just want to stop it there again, because once again, Joffrey shows some intelligence. I'm not going to say outwits, but he definitely throws his grandfather off guard, because his grandfather, one, didn't expect him to have any knowledge of the dragons based on the fact that he's like, where did you hear this? And two, when questioned about where did you hear this, Joffrey simply responds, is it true? So it's kind of a way Joffrey is telling his grandfather, I think, hey, I'm not going to reveal my sources. And Tywin may be thinking now, so who from the council is spilling the beans in a sense? Who is letting this information get out to the king? Joffrey is not about to reveal his source, and that actually shows some smartness on his part. He throws his grandfather off guard, who now has to explain something that he didn't even want to explain to his grandson, I believe, because he didn't want his grandson even knowing about the dragons.
Apparently so.
Don't you think we ought to do something about it?
When I was Hand of the King under your father's predecessor, the skulls of all the Targaryen dragons were kept in this room. And the skull of the last of them was right here. It was the size of an apple.
And the biggest was the size of a carriage.
Yes, and the creature to whom it belonged died 300 years ago.
I'm going to stop it there again, because Joffrey once again gave a quick response. You see, I'm not sure if Tywin actually knew that Joffrey, I don't know, did research or something to check what the dragon's skull sizes were. He gave him that story, I think, just to kind of set him at ease. When Joffrey once again quickly retorted that, Tywin, I'm not sure if he was thrown off guard as bad as last time, but he seemed maybe a little bit, because the thing is that Joffrey once again, he's able to quickly and correctly retort with a point that makes sense to his grandfather. And not only this time does Tywin's demeanor change again, but this time he actually starts to raise his voice because he is getting annoyed, I believe. He's gotten thrown off. He didn't come, I believe, prepared for this type of conversation. So I'm not saying that Joffrey actually beat Tywin in this conversation. No, Joffrey lost. Joffrey lost, okay? But I believe Tywin came unprepared, and because of that unpreparedness, Joffrey was actually able to get a few hits in there. What I liked about this scene was it showed that Joffrey actually was thinking somewhat of the kingdom. He's right there kind of, seemingly he has done research before this conversation, prepared for this conversation with his grandfather, actually had good responses to his grandfather's statements. Now, Tywin still won the conversation at the end, but you gotta hand it to Joffrey in this conversation. He's having a conversation with Tywin Lannister, and he seemed to have come prepared and did his homework, unlike Tywin, which is why he's able to get his grandfather, I believe, a few times. While I'm still saying that Tywin won this debate, or conversation, whatever you want to call it, Joffrey here actually displayed some intelligence, some cunning, and he definitely did his research and his homework before talking to his grandfather. And that's what I wanted to point out, because it seems like most people just talk about how Tywin dominated him in this conversation, but they miss out the fact that Joffrey got some points in there, and that Joffrey actually deserves, I believe, a little bit of credit for his knowledge and for doing his homework. I believe that's what he did before actually coming to his grandfather. It showed some preparation, I believe, on his part, and maybe even a little bit of maturity. But anyway, what do you guys think about this analysis from more Joffrey's side of this scene from Game of Thrones? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Remember, like, share, and subscribe, and God bless you all.